Well, that is one of the most amazing stories in the world. Actually, I was offered The Godfather, and I read the first script, and I thought it was terrible. I turned it down. Then one day, Marlon Brando came to my house, and the script, very thick script of The Godfather, was lying on the table, and I was trying to talk Marlon into doing a picture with me. And Marlon thought I was crazy because nobody wanted him at the time. And he said, Tony, it's silly for you to, to want to do a picture with me because you'll never raise the money. And I said, listen, that's my affair. I'll raise the money, and if I have to pay you out of my own salary, I'll pay you, but I want to do this picture. And we sat around for about 4 or 5 hours talking back and forth. And he kept leafing through Godfather. And he never said a word about it. He said, by the way, he said, are you going to do it? And I said, I don't think so, Marlon. I said, I think the script is terrible. And he said, and he's a very non-committal man anyway. And yeah. He walked off. And he walked off with a part.
Well, what happened with The Godfather? Because didn't Marlon Brando veto you because he thought that you looked too similar or something?
Well, I wasn't. I think it was a couple of things. He wasn't a fan, and I'd had sort of a run-in with him before, and that was before he moved to an island and became an island.
Yeah, I was the guy who came behind a character by the name of Piantangeli, who was played by Michael Gazzo. I played one of the Rosato brothers. I put a garrote around his neck, and I said, Michael Corleone says hello. And I dragged him into a booth, but I didn't kill him. I failed. But that was me, yeah.
How big a deal was that?
It was big to me because it's one of the first things I ever did. And it turned out to be an improvisation, actually, because Francis, we were rehearsing the scene. I came behind him, and for some reason, I have no idea why I said it. I said, Michael Corleone says hello. And Francis Coppola said, what'd you say? I said, Michael Corleone. He said, keep it in. Now, it turned out to be one of the most confusing lines because it set other things in motion in the movie that made it somewhat confusing. But I suppose that Francis Coppola wanted it to be that way. But that was an improvised line.
Charlie Bluehorner was the chairman of Paramount. He wanted me to do Godfather III. And he kind of planted the seed, and I met with Coppola, and they never quite got it. He wasn't into it. He didn't need the money then. And then, a few years later, he did, and so on and so forth.
Now, is it true that at one time you pitched an idea to Francis Ford Coppola about doing Godfather III?
Yeah, we wanted to do something with, you remember a gangster named Nicky Barnes? He was a big gangster out of Harlem, a big drug dealer, and his story was real interesting. And we wanted to incorporate his story with contemporary, mob, family-like story, and just never came together. Yeah.
Because Marlon does this great thing. He knows who he is, and he knows the effect he has on other people. Now, we were waiting at Andy Bergman's house in Toronto for him to show up so we could start rehearsing. And Matthew and I both were waiting, and we're getting more and more nervous, and the doorbell rings, and he comes in, and he looks at me, and he goes, the last time I saw you, you were in a brown derby with a long coat, and you were stealing a rug. And he gives me a hug. And right away, he takes all the tension that you were carrying, he just absorbs it into himself, and you find yourself 2 minutes later, it's me, Matthew, and Marlon working on a scene together, and it's just actors working.